Hello, all of you wayward spirits. My name is Liz Ashley, and I am so obsessed with supernatural that I decided to do some research Winchester style on anything and everything mentioned in the show. And though the show has sadly ended, this podcast is going to keep the family together. So, what do you say? Do you want to join me on the hunt? This content has a lot of reference to death and disturbing situations, so listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to season 3, episode 1 of Wayward Spirit Pod. Yes, I am so excited. It's season 3. And if you are watching or listening on YouTube, you have found out that I am now putting the visual episodes on YouTube. So if you are listening on Spotify and want to watch it, it is now on YouTube, or if you're on YouTube and just want to listen, it is also on Spotify. Well, all right, guys, I am so happy to be back for season 3. And today we are researching the Mandela effect. Yes, that is right. No, they do not talk about it in Supernatural, but the episode that reminds me of the Mandela effect is My Heart Will Go On, the one with the Titanic. So, the Mandela effect is my favorite conspiracy theory. If you haven't heard about it before, you are going to hear all about it today and why it reminds me of the Titanic episode of Supernatural. All right, so like I said, the episode that we are specifically talking about is My Heart Will Go On, and that is in season 6, episode 17. And it was written by Eric Camillo and Nicole Snyder and was directed by Mike Roll. All right, so this episode starts out with a guy in Pennsylvania working on some stuff in his garage. And all of a sudden, he starts having these like series of crazy accidents. Like it totally reminded me of Final Destination. He just kept like tripping and falling over things. Like it was really, really crazy. And like he always saved himself until the very end when he fell and got chopped in half by the garage door. It was literally wild. I totally forgot about that intro. Then we see Sam, Dean, and Bobby. And this episode was after Bobby killed Rufus because of the earworm. And it's funny because the first thing we see are like Sam and Dean standing next to each other, like, you go. No, you go. No, you go. Like they're trying to talk to Bobby because he's obviously like really upset. And they're just like fighting. They're just like little kids. You go. No, you go. It was great. So eventually Sam and Dean just give up because Bobby is not listening to them and tells them to leave. So they leave, but as they leave and go to the car, they're not getting in Baby. It's not Baby. It's some random car. Like it was so bizarre. Like I know this episode and like I know what was gonna happen, but I was just like, whew, it just gives you, it's so weird. Like not seeing them in Baby is just like, this is weird. Like I don't like this. It was trippy. It was really trippy. But then they go back to Bobby's house and we see Ellen, which, if you remember, she's supposed to be dead. So she's coming home to Bobby, who is her husband. So this like some really weird stuff is happening right now. Like some really weird stuff is going down in this episode, and none of them have like any idea that literally their whole lives just changed in like the matter of seconds. Wild. So the boys, of course, go to this guy's garage to see if there's any EMF or any sign of paranormal activity. And they don't find anything. But what they do find is a piece of a real gold string. So it's like actual gold. And this is when we hear one of my favorite favorite Dean lines. He says, I mean, accidents just don't happen accidentally. And then you can tell, like Jensen did such a good job. Like you can tell, like right after he says it, Dean's like, okay, I know what I said. Like you know what I mean. Like he realizes what he said, and he's like, okay, you know what I mean, though. Like it's so funny. So at first they think it was a family curse. So now they're gonna go talk to this guy's family and like warn them, or that maybe, ask them why this might be happening. And so Dean goes to talk to this extremely rude cousin of his, like real rude. And he was like literally so rude. I was like, dude, why? What is your reason for being so rude? So, but Dean, I mean, I kind of get it, because Dean is asking some weird questions, man. Like he was like asking, like, because they're wondering if it's a family curse. So he's asking if like they have ties to the Nazis or stuff like that. It was wild. And this guy's like, no, get out. So he kicks Dean out, and he got a little fed up, which I mean, I get. The questions were a little weird, but Dean is like, fine, I'll cut to the chase. He's like, if you don't watch out, you're going to die. And of course, the guy's like, are you threatening me? And he's like, no. But then he proceeds to keep kicking him out. So Dean eventually leaves because I mean, it did sound like a threat. He was like, if you don't watch out, you're going to die. That does sound like a threat. But anyway, so now we see a travel agent in her office, and she all of a sudden just like freezes out of nowhere. And this blonde girl comes in and takes her keys and drops them on the floor. So when everything like unfreezes and the travel agent goes to pick up her keys, a vase like falls, and it falls into the printer, and then sparks start to fly, and then her scarf gets, it's like the intro again, reminding me of Final Destination. Like it's just all these wild things all of these wild things keep happening, and it's like, what is going on? But her scarf gets stuck in the printer and it chokes her. Like, most bizarre death ever. Bizarre. But yeah. And then we see the blonde girl again, and she is the one leaving the gold string. She leaves a gold string and then crosses a name out of her book. So again, Sam and Dean go to the travel agent's office to see what's going on, and they find another gold string. And they call Ellen, and she ends up telling them that there are actually accidents happening worldwide. So this is happening like everywhere, and they still don't know like what's getting them. And the next part is just great. It's just great. It's just great. So Ellen, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so Ellen is like, they do have a weird connection though. So all of the victims have a weird connection. And she said that they came over to America in the same year on a boat called the Titanic. And then she's like, ever heard of it? And Dean's like, no. And then he asked Sam, and Sam is like, no. This part is just so funny to me, because it's like, the whole episode, weird things are happening. But then, like, when they say this, you're like, oh my goodness. Like, something is definitely happening. It's just so funny. Ever heard of it? No. All right. It's just so funny. So Sam now looks up the Titanic, because apparently nobody knows about it. And when they look it up, It didn't sink. Well, of course it didn't sink because they didn't know about it. So Dina's like, what is so special about this thing? And then Sam finds out that they actually had a close call and the ship almost hit an iceberg. But the first mate spotted it just in time. Ah, and the first mate's name was I.P. Freely. Of course it was. And when they looked at the picture, it was none other than Balthazar. Oh my goodness. This episode is so funny. This episode is so funny. And so, of course, the next thing that they do is summon Balthazar to get some answers. And this whole scene with Balthazar is just, it's such a classic. Like, it is so good. I love this whole entire scene. It's amazing. Okay. So, after they summon Balthazar, they're like, okay, what's up with the boat? Like, what did you do? And he was like, oh, yeah, right. The Titanic. Well, it was meant to sink, but I saved it. He was just like so nonchalant about it. And Sam and Dean don't know how to respond because it wasn't like he did anything bad. Like you could definitely, like, they were visibly confused because they're just like, okay. And so Sam's like, but why? Like, but why? So then, oh, this is amazing. So then it's like, oh, because I hated the movie. And I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, and I get that. But bro, me too. Me too, man. Like, I have never liked the Titanic, if I'm being honest. I haven't. Oh man. And Dean's like, what movie? And so Balthazar goes, exactly. This scene is just gold. It's gold. So seriously, I have watched the Titanic. Like literally, I have watched the Titanic so many times because in middle school, my friends, they loved it. And so we watched it all the time. And even back then, I didn't like it. And I wasn't super happy when we would watch it. And to this day, I still don't like it. Like I just don't, I don't know why. I just don't like that movie. And I just never got into it. But the funny thing is I still enjoy, like, I like the history of the Titanic. Like the real life history, I think is really interesting. And I even went to like an exhibit at the Science Center to like near me. And it was great. It was really cool. But the movie, I just can't get into the movie. I don't know why. I just never could. And I feel bad because I know everybody like loves it, but not me. So the first time I saw this episode, I felt so understood. I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, you understand me, Balthazar. Also, I would like to point out that she could have definitely had him on the door or what light, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was, but there was enough room. And people have actually made like pictures like showing if he would have laid like this, there would have been enough room. So yeah, no, no. All right, that is all. So back to the episode. So Sam's like, you saved a cruise liner because? And Balthazar says, because that god awful Celine Dion song made me want to smite myself. Oh my gosh, this is another line I love, and it's really funny because I was watching this show the other day, and this guy was talking about, I forgot what he was talking about, but he was saying, we don't say smite enough anymore. Like we don't say smite anymore. And I was like in my head, I was like, man, you should watch Supernatural. They say smite all the time. And then I made a meme, not a meme. Yeah, a meme, I guess, a meme post about that scene because it was just so funny to me. But yeah, so Sam then asks who Celine Dion is. So Balthazar is very pleased. And he says, "Oh, now she's just a lounge singer in Quebec. Let's keep it that way." Balthazar is a savage. He's savage. It's great. It's so great. All right. So Sam's like, "Well, I thought you couldn't change history, but this is back when I think this is back when there was like that whole like war and everything. It was like right after they stopped the apocalypse." And so he was like, "Yeah, there are no rules anymore." And Sam all of a sudden just gets like pissed. Like he gets so mad. And he was like, "You totally butterfly affected history." And Balthazar's like, "Oh, come on. There are only small changes. Like you don't drive an Impala." And they don't know what an Impala is. Like they didn't even know what an Impala was. And that just hurt my soul. Like that hurt my soul. But then he's like, "Oh, yeah, and the other change, Ellen and Joe are still alive. You know, just nonchalantly. Oh, yeah, they were dead in the other universe or timeline." And of course, Sam and Dean are like, "Whoa," like they're visibly worried because someone is killing the descendants. And if that's, well, yeah, I guess it just changed because of the timeline. So if someone is killing people who are not supposed to be in this time are not supposed to be alive, then they're gonna kill Ellen and Joe, and they don't want that to happen. And so they're very, very, very worried. And so of course, they're like, "You have to fix this. Like you need to fix this." And so Balthazar says, this is when one of the most classic lines is said. All right. Then Balthazar says, "You have me confused with the other angel, the one in the dirty trench coat that's in love with you." Oh man, this episode has so many classic lines. Like it really does. It's crazy. So now, of course, they have to call Bobby because they have to tell him what's going on. So now they are talking to Bobby, and of course, they tell him everything that Balthazar did. And Bobby's like, "Well, yeah, that makes sense because the person I think we're up against is fate." Like in Hercules, like the sisters in Hercules. And when I was writing this, or like when I was getting like ready for this and like writing the outline, I was like, I had this like strong urge to watch Hercules after. I was like, "Oh man, I haven't seen Hercules in so long." Great. Okay, so I'm not going to go too much into the lore on the Fates because I would eventually like to do an episode about them. So I'm going to go through the rest of the episode just like a little quicker. But they proceed to tell Bobby that they have to stop it because Ellen and Joe are in danger. And because before they told them that Ellen and Joe were in danger, they were like, Bobby was like, "Well, we can't stop fate. Like, there's not much we can do about it. Like, we just have to resync the ship. Like, fate has to just work itself out." And then Sam and Dean are, of course, like, "No, no." Like Ellen, like they have to stop it because Ellen and Joe are in danger. And so that's when like Bobby's whole mood just like shifts, and he's like, "Well, yeah, we can't let her kill them." So they're like, "Yeah, we have to stop it." And as they're telling them this, we actually see a picture. So we see a picture of him, and they like close up on it. It's like a picture of him and Ellen. And instead of Singer Salvage or Singer Auto or I don't know. I've heard all different things. But I thought it was Singer Salvage, but then at the end of the episode it says something different. So whatever. But anyway, so it says B&E Salvage, which is funny because normally that's not what it is, but B&E, Bobby and Ellen. So first they go and try to save the rude cousin from earlier, and we see them in the other car again, which is just so extremely weird. Like it just really makes me uncomfortable seeing them in a different car. Like I don't like it. But So the cousin is about to get hit by a car and is like not paying attention because he's like on his phone or what. I forgot what he was doing. He was doing something. He was like screaming out, whatever. I don't know. This guy's crazy. So he was about to get hit by a car, and Dean kept trying to get his attention. He was like, hey, hey, like you're about to get hit by a car, like, hey. And of course, this guy is like super rude and doesn't pay attention. So Dean ends up saving him from getting hit by a car, and this guy is still rude. Like, dude, he just saved your life, and now you want to be rude about it? Like, no. No, no, thank you, no, nothing. So, you know what? Honestly, I feel like the next thing that happens to him is just karma. So, but he blames it on Dean. He blames almost getting hit by a car on Dean, which is ridiculous. And then proceeds to keep walking and then gets hit by a bus. And Sam's face when it happens is hilarious. It is so funny. Like I I've been paying a lot more attention to like their expressions or like while I'm watching this, like I've been paying a lot more attention to the like the little their expressions are amazing. Like even when it's not like when the scene isn't about them, like their background expressions are just like they're such great actors. It's great. It's great. So then they see the back of the bus, as everything is happening, and it has this guy's like marketing material on it, like the guy that just died and got hit by it. And Dean is like, haha, look. And then he's like, too soon. And Sam's like, I think 6 seconds is too soon. And this is when Sam sees Fate again. Not really going to talk much about it because I would like to talk about the fates in a future episode. But basically, they go in to confront her, but like she like set up a trap, and they almost get like blown up. But then Cass saves them and tells them what's going on. That Fate is out for them because they kind of changed fate by, stopping the apocalypse. So she's not really happy with them. So yeah, Cass tells them that they need to watch their back because fate is after them. Okay, side note, I'm used to like season 13 and 14 and 15 cast, but season 7 cast is like so serious. I forgot like how serious he was, I just like in the later seasons, he's just so different and it's just so funny. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. But the next thing we see is Bobby actually ends up telling Ellen like everything that's going on. And Ellen's like, look, you just need to sink the boat. And she's like, look, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And, Bobby, of course, is like, what are you saying? But she's just like, there's not much they can do to stop it. And so I have some thoughts. So it's crazy that, it's crazy that things changed so fast. Like it's really weird to like wrap your brain around, right? Like things just like changed in an instant, and they had all these memories that they didn't have before. And it's just like wild how like the timeline changed like that. Two, I really wish that Ellen and Bobby had actually gotten together at some point. Like it was so cute. Like I wonder why they never really like dove into that. That would have been really cute. All right. So this is the hilarious part of the episode where Sam and Dean almost die from like literally everything. And it's always like some really insane, crazy things. And it's for like 10 minutes straight. They almost die because of a dog, a skateboard, a bike. There are people who are like who are like juggling machetes and knives. And then there were fire jugglers. And their faces throughout this whole montage is just like priceless. Like it's so funny. It's honestly the best thing ever. And it's all while the song One Way or Another is playing. Yes. Oh man. So this montage suddenly ends when everything just freezes as this air conditioner unit is about to crush both of them, both Sam and Dean. And Cass and Fate just like pop up and start talking. And Fate is not happy, but we'll talk about that later down the line. But ultimately, Balthazar has to resink the ship. So they have to like sink the ship again. And so Fate doesn't mess with them and like kill everybody. So they decide this. They all decide this, all while Sam and Dean are still frozen and have no idea what's going on. So they just, surrender, whatever. And it's really funny to see them in the background because they're like frozen the whole time. And it's just like really, really funny to see. Really funny. All right. So the next thing we know, we see Sam and Dean wake up and baby, thank goodness. Finally. It was so bizarre not seeing them in baby. And the radio is playing none other than My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. And how Dean wakes up is so funny. Like he just like he just wakes up so weirdly. It's so funny. But then Sam wakes up and he's like, I just had the weirdest dream. And Dean's like, can't be weirder than mine. And then they start discussing it and they're like, wait a second. We had the same dream. Like, what? And suddenly Cass appears and was like, it was not a dream. And Cass explains everything to them and tells them that it was all real and that they had to resink the Titanic so that Sam and Dean would stay safe so that she wouldn't kill them. And Sam's like, you killed 50,000 people for us, which I mean, he kind of like brushes it off and he's like, I mean, they weren't, not being alive is better than being murdered. They say that like 50 million times in this episode. But they really do. They say it so many times. But he kind of did. Like he kind of did kill 50,000 people for them, which is a lot of people. But so, and then Dean is like confused. So he starts asking about the timeline. He's like, so did that other timeline just like vanish or get erased? And Cass says more or less, which I think is a little vague. Like, I want to know what do you mean more or less? Like, what do you mean more or less? That's not a yes or a no. Like, what do you mean? It's so vague. Like, I really want to know. So, and they're like, well, how come we remember? And Cass is like, because he wanted them to. He wanted them to remember everything that happened. So, and then Dean's like, oh, well, the Titanic didn't suck that bad. And Sam gives him this look, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Sam. Like, Sam, like, what? And then Sam, and then Dean's like, I mean, Winslet's rack. I'm like, okay, yeah, of course, that's why Dean likes it. Oh man. And then at the very end, we see Bobby at home sleeping alone, and everything is back to the way it used to be. And the picture is back to just Bobby, and it says Singer Auto. And Dean puts a blanket over him, and it's so sad yet so sweet. Oh, it really was. But yes, that was the episode. I love this episode. It is so, so fun. Now, let's go into the lore that I think kind of goes with the Mandela effect. But yeah, let's go. Let's talk about the lore in this episode. So, the lore in this episode that reminds me of the Mandela effect is that so Balthazar, when he like unsunk the ship, or he changed history. He really did butterfly effect things. So he changed things, and it like kind of created a new timeline. So number one. Number two, Cass remembered, Dean and Sam remembered, but like nobody else did. Number three, like the big things, like I said, like the butterfly effect, the big outcomes are like, the ship sinking. It ended up like changing a lot of littler things too. Like it ended up changing smaller things along the line too. So that's the lore in the episode that reminds me of the Mandela effect. Hey, wayward spirits, do you love Supernatural? Can you quote basically every single episode? Do you know how to hunt all of the monsters? Well, I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, the answer is yes. And that means that you are basically a Winchester and need my new merch. Wayward Spirit Pod officially has merch, and the first two collections are Mentally Dating a Winchester and Basically a Winchester. We also have some really cool stickers representing Sam as Moose, Dean as Squirrel, Cass's wings, and Baby going down the road so far. Go to waywardspiritpod.com/shop to get your very own. And when you do, because I really hope that you do, take a picture and tag me in it because I would love to see you in our designs. Well, all right, let's get back to the episode. Now, let's get into the Mandela effect, my favorite conspiracy theory. All right. So if you do not know about the Mandela effect, you are going to learn all about it today. So I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you some of the theories as to what has caused it. And then I'm going to kind of just tell you what I think in my experiences with it. All right, let's go. I'm very excited if you cannot tell. All right. I've been wanting to do a Mandela effect episode since I started this podcast, and I am just so excited to be doing it right now. Okay, so the Mandela effect got its name when a lady named Fiona Broom, she is a paranormal consultant, and she remembered, like, I forgot if she wrote about it in a blog or what happened, but she wrote about how she remembered the former South African president Nelson Mandela. She remembered him dying in the 1980s in prison, though Mandela lived until 2013. So she described the news coverage, like she remembered things that happened on the news. She remembered like a lot of things. She even remembered the widow's speech, but the funny thing was none of it happened. None of it actually happened. But the even funnier thing is Broom wasn't the only one. She was not the only one who remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison. In fact, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people around the world remembered it being that way. So, though these events never happened, a lot of people were convinced that it did. And so, this is how the Mandela effect concept has become to be. And I will tell you, I learned about the Mandela effect probably like a year or so ago. And I kind of got obsessed with it for a little while because I just thought it was so interesting. Because I, in fact, remembered learning in school that Nelson Mandela died in prison. And I vividly remember it, like, vividly remember learning this in school. And so it really intrigued me that, first of all, I thought he was dead. I didn't know he was alive. It wasn't until I listened to these or learned about the Mandela effect that I even knew he was still alive. Like, it's wild. Like, my whole life I thought he was dead. And then And then I see this and I'm like, huh, okay. So it really intrigued me because I feel the same way. Like I distinctly remember learning that in school. But funny enough, Nelson Mandela is not the only thing that people agree on that have changed. There are many different topics that have been discussed in the Mandela effect that people have remembered differently than what it is today. So, one of the big ones that you will hear anybody talk about if they're talking about the Mandela effect is the Berenstain Bears. So, I don't know about you, but I grew up in the 90s to 2000s and I read the Berenstain Bears, and this is another one. This is another one that I'm with that I remember. So the Berenstain Bears, the way I have always said it is Berenstain. Berenstain, it's Berestein. And it is a children's book that people used to read if you're not familiar with it. And that's just, to me, that's how it has always been, the Berenstain Bears. To me, I feel like that's always how it was pronounced. That's how I remember my childhood. But it is, in fact, the Berenstain Bears. So it is spelled Berenstain. And apparently, it has always been that way. The writers of the books said that it has always been that way. But you know what? I beg to differ because I don't remember it being the Berenstain Bears. I remember the Berenstain Bears or Berenstain. Okay. Anyway, I remember it with an E, not an A, but that's just me. So, yep. All right. Now to the next one. So, this next one you might know, it is the peanut butter brand Jif. So, if you this is another one that I agree with. So I have always like I literally remember it being Jiffy. Like I when I first heard about all of this stuff, the Mandela effect, I felt crazy because I'm like, it literally was Jiffy though. Like I am convinced that when I was little, it was Jiffy. I really am because that is what I remember. But apparently it's not. It's Jif. So yeah, apparently it's always been Jif. And I don't agree. So again, I don't agree. But yeah, so it's JIF. That's how it really is. If you've seen it in the stores, you know. But if I'm telling you, if you were in the 90s, if you grew up in the 2000s, I could have sworn it was Jiffy. I really remember it being Jiffy. I really, really do. All right. So the next one is Looney Tunes. So, how do you think Looney Tunes is spelled? Is it TUNES or is it TOONS? Well, a lot of people thought that it was spelled TOONS, but it's actually TUNES. And like tunes, like musical tunes, that's how it's spelled. And this one, when I first heard it, I don't know, this one, it strikes me as weird. Like I don't remember it being TUNES tunes, but I also don't remember it distinctly being the other way either. So this one I'm kind of neutral about, but I don't know. I don't know. That's something that people have remembered as being spelled differently. All right. So this next one, if you are a Curious George fan, I want to know, does Curious George have a tail? Quick answer. Answer. You got the answer? Okay. Well, no, he does not. He never had a tail. What do you remember? Do you remember Curious George having a tail? Because I do. But nope, he never had a tail. So the next one is a popular TV show. And if you remember it, I never really watched it, but it is called, well, okay. I don't know how to say this because the way so this show, I have always called it Sex in the City. Always 100%. Since I've heard about it, I've always called it Sex in the City. You know, the one with Sarah Jessica Parker and everything like that. No, it is not Sex in the City. It's Sex and the City, which that one got me too because I was like, since when? Like, did everyone just start saying Sex in the City? Because people still say that. So did it just like catch on and then no one corrected themselves? Like this one I feel like would be one is a good example of one that I could be like, okay, well, you know, it could have we could have just been like, oh, well, Sex in the City, yay, and then never corrected ourselves, which some of these are, but some of them I really believe. But this is one where I think it's reasonable to be like, okay, well, maybe we just like maybe someone just called it Sex in the City and everyone just ran with it and no one like corrected it. So, but it's still really weird because I'm like, since when was sex? I've always called it Sex in the City. Since when was it called Sex and the City? Really weird. All right. The next one got me too. Let me tell you, when I first got into this conspiracy theory, I was like obsessed with it. And me and my friends would always joke. We'd be like, yeah, we're just in the wrong timeline. We're in the wrong timeline, guys. How did we get here? We'd always joke about it, but I'm like, you know what, maybe true. All right. All right, okay, I'm done. All right, so the next one is another one that really got me. So, when you think of Oscar Mayer, how do you spell it? And I know I keep asking you this, but how do you spell it? Because I always go back to the the commercial. So if you were again, if you were around in like the 2000s, you would have known this commercial, and it's the Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial, and it's like S. Oh, it's OSCA. Oh, I don't even remember how it goes. OSCAR. M-E. I always thought it was MEYER. So you would think we'd be Oscar Mayer. Like, anyway, I always thought it was Oscar Mayer. Like, and I always thought it was MEYER. Like, that's how the song went. That's how the jingle went. It was like, I don't even remember, but it was like MEYER. And no, that is not how you spell it. It's MAYER. Like, what? Since when? And like I looked it up and everything, and they're like Oscar Mayer's like, no, there's always been an A, and I'm like, oh really, really? Because I don't think so. I can distinctly remember it being MEYER, MEYER. All right. All right. So the next one is about my favorite board game, Monopoly. So does Mr. Monopoly, the Monopoly man, have a monocle? What is your answer? Did you pick it? All right. Well, he doesn't have one. What? I have played this game my whole life. My whole life, I have played this game. And I could have swore he had a monocle. I could have swore he had a monocle. I've been playing this since I was a little kid. We literally have like my family and we have like Monopoly tournaments. Like it is a serious thing in when we play Monopoly. It is serious. It's cutthroat. And I could have swore he had a monocle. What? All right, so just a few more left. There is so many of them. I can't say all of them. So just a few more left. But one that I think might boggle your mind is something that is said in Snow White, which you know what? I was in Snow White. I was in a play for Snow White and I was Snow White. And I really should have looked back at my script because I still have it. Well, it actually might be in storage, so never mind. I might not have it. But I really want to look at it and see what that script says. When I ever go back to my storage unit in Nashville, I will tell you what it says and we can do a recap of this. But anyway, so let me get to the point. So in Snow White, when the wicked queen looks to the mirror, A common belief is that she says, mirror, mirror on the wall. Like, that's just like known, right? You would think that's just like a fact of life that she says, mirror, mirror on the wall, because everyone says it, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Right? Okay. Well, that's not what she says. That's not what she says. She says magic mirror on the wall. Yes, she does. Go watch Snow White. She says magic mirror on the wall. Now, come on. Come on. Magic mirror. What? I mean, come on. It's like mind blowing. Also, this next one, if you've ever seen Hannibal, it's a great movie. So, or well, not Hannibal, Silence of the Lambs. My bad. Silence of the Lambs. If you've ever seen Silence of the Lambs, it's a great movie. But this really creeped me out. Like, reading this really creeped me out. So everyone remembers Hannibal Lecter saying, "Hello." It's like, "Hello." Is what? Hello, Clarice, or hello. I don't know. It's really creepy. Like, hello, Clarice. Hello, Clarice. Whatever. He says it really creepy, but he says hello, Clarice. I mean, that has been like, I mean, people have been saying that for years. Like, it has just been something that people say. Like, it's a quote. It is a movie quote that gets quoted all of the time, all of the time. But guess what? He never says it in the movie. He doesn't say it in the movie. What? I mean, come on. I mean, yeah. Mm-mm. All right. And then this next, see, these last ones, we're getting into the good ones where it's like, okay, like these are like universally known facts, right? But they're not. It's not real. So either we've all just been getting it wrong all this time, which I mean, I guess is practical, or there are different timelines. Okay, so the next one is this one got me, man. This one got me. It got my mom too. I got my mom with this one too. Okay, this next one is about the song "We Are the Champions." So, have you ever heard the song "We Are the Champions"? It's a very well-known song. I feel like everybody knows it. You know, we are the champions. We are the champions. Those are the losers, but we are the champions. That song. Okay. This one, this one got me. Like I said, this one got me. Okay, so at the end of this song, you know, they at the end of it, they go, "We are the champions. We are the champions. We are the champions." And then that's it. But most people, like me, like I've done since I was little, because I used to listen to this song with my mom all of the time because she loved this song. At the end of it, we always sang "Of the World." But see, I remember them singing "Of the World" too. I remember that being the end of the song, like quite distinctly, because I listened to it growing up, and I always at the end of the song always said "Of the World." That's the end of the song. But in reality, it's not. They just ended on "We Are the Champions," and that's it. And I told my mom this, right? And she thought I was crazy. She was like, "Of course it says that at the end of the song." And I'm like, "Listen to it again." No, it does not. I was like, "It does not say it at the end of this song." And she didn't believe me. And then she listened to it and she was like, "Oh my gosh." And I was like, "I told you." I'm not crazy. And then I went to the mall with my friends, and this is pre-COVID. But we were in the store and the song came on and I was singing it, you know, as it was going. And then at the end, of course it didn't say of the world. And I was like, aha. I was like, I know it doesn't say it. And I was like, but and then this other guy next to me who worked there was like, oh, I heard about that too, the Mandela effect. I was like, yes. And he was like, I know, it's crazy. I remember it saying of the world. And I was like, me too. Me too. So this is another one. This is another one that is like universally known differently. And it's wild. It's wild. Like, what is happening? This next one, we're almost done, I promise. I know this is a lot of them, but the next one hit me in my core. This one hit me in my like whole being. Like, this one is the one that ruined my childhood. Now, you might not know this one, but in the 90s, I could have swore, like I could have swore to you that there was a movie called Shazam. I remember watching it. I remember everything about it. And Sinbad in this movie, Sinbad played a genie, and I distinctly like I remember this. I remember him in the genie outfit. I remember it. I remember it. I can like see images of it in my head. Like, I'm not even messing with you. And Sinbad is like, that never happened. And I was like, what? 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 Like, what? Since when? This one hit me in my core. And everyone's like, oh, well, they're just confusing it with the movie Kazam starring Shaquille O'Neal. But no, I'm not, because Sinbad and Shaquille O'Neal look very different, okay? They are not the same person. I do not remember any movie called Kazam with Shaquille O'Neal at all. I don't remember it at all. I don't. I don't remember seeing it. I don't remember watching it. I don't remember Kazam. Not at all. Not one bit. So no. I could have sworn there are like I forgot where I saw it, but I think there are even some people that like have pictures of this, like literal pictures of it. And Sinbad's like, oh, but it's never happened. But there are people who have pictures because it used to be on a VHS, which if you don't know what a VHS is, which, wow, I feel really old. If you don't know what a VHS is, well, it's like a tape, and it was like a DVD, but now we don't even use DVDs, but whatever. Anyway, so a lot of people still have like there are pictures of like the tapes, I think, online. I'm going to try to find it. Maybe I'll post it on Instagram. I'm going to try to do that because I feel like I saw that somewhere. But again, it's the internet, so who knows? I would really like to know what you all remember, and if you all remember any of these differently. Like, I really would like to know. I would find that so incredibly interesting. All right, so now let's talk about why or how all of these things might have just mysteriously changed. All right, so scientists believe that it is because of false memories. So they think that the Mandela effect is an unusual phenomenon where a large group of people remember something differently than how it actually occurred. So that is what scientists believe. They think it's false memories. But of course, I do not think it's that. If you know me, you know that I'm not going to go with the practical reason, because what is practical? What even is practical? All right. So here are some of the supernatural paranormal theories that I just love. All right, here we go. Okay. So the first theory that we are going to talk about is the theory. When I heard it, I was like, there is no way. This is the most ridiculous theory. No way. And it is that we are living in a simulation. That's right. You heard me. The theory is that we are living in a simulation. Now, when I heard this for the first time, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like it's like we're the Sims or something. Like what? And because that's what everybody like, matches it to, like, oh, the Sims. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, whatever, we are not in the Sims. But the more I have learned about our universe, the more I'm like, it's not that far fetched. And it's really funny. It's actually really creepy, not funny. But there is actually a scientist who came up with a simulation hypothesis. All right. So Nick Bostrom came up with this hypothesis, and Elon Musk believes it. So he's a believer in this hypothesis. And basically, it's that if humanity can survive long enough to create technology capable of running, like, basically real life simulations, like of reality, it will create so many simulations that we won't ever know which one is the real true one. So basically, we'll start to lose sight of the base reality. So the actual reality will start to lose sight of it. If you go off of like the way he's saying it, the way Nick Bostrom is putting it, it's pretty much just it's like statistically possible that we're probably more likely to be in the simulation than in the base reality. But that's if his hypothesis is true. So it's similar to like the Matrix. Now, I've never seen the Matrix, but I'm really interested in watching it now. But apparently, like it's a similar idea to that one. Here's my catch with this one. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that's so wow. But like I'd like to believe that I make my own decisions. And that someone's not like controlling me. So I guess that's my issue with this theory is that okay, if we're in a simulation and we don't know it, who is controlling my decisions? Like, is it just a simulation to have a simulation where we can just free fall and do whatever we want? Or is there actually someone who is like controlling us individually in our decisions? I don't know. So is it like really like a video game, or is it just like Sims without anybody controlling people? I don't know. I don't know. All right, so the next one is another one of my favorites. It is alternate dimensions or reality. So, yeah, which I totally believe in alternate dimensions, like 100%. So, I totally believe that this is a viable option. Again, call me crazy if you want, but I do. I believe that there are other dimensions. So, let's get into this theory. Okay, so back a while ago, I don't know how long ago it was, but scientists were experimenting with this. I think it was like a particle or something like that, and it was CERN. I think it was CERN, CERN, or is it that's the person? I think that was the person. So, but anyway, there was this particle that they were CERN, I guess, were the researchers, and there was this particle that they were like manipulating or trying to figure out, and they even told people they were like, if we do this and it goes bad, then it could like essentially end the world. And it was just like this particle that they were trying to figure out and they were testing. And a lot of people think that when they did that and they were doing those tests, that they didn't end the world, but they kind of like shifted our dimensions or shifted us into a different reality. And it was yeah, I mean a lot of people think that. And I think it's catching on more now after 2020 because I know I've seen a lot of like TikToks about it. And I think I think the Mandela effect is catching on a little bit more now because how crazy 2020 was. And so everyone's like, yeah, we're totally living, like we're living in a different dimension. Like we're like me and my friends were saying, like we're living in the wrong timeline. but but yeah, so that's a theory that they kind of like they shifted us into this new dimension or reality that we're in right now, and that's why everything is a little bit different than it was before, because this is a different reality and things are a little bit different than our other one. So timelines, so in Supernatural it was like different timelines. So I mean, you could call timelines different, you could call them, I guess you could call them dimensions too, but that's the thing, like it's different timelines. And when you think about it, it makes sense, because if we're in a different reality that's just like that's like slightly a bit different than ours, then yeah, like things are gonna be different. Like instead, in this new reality, like Mandela's alive, which has caused all of these other butterfly affecting actions that have happened. And it could be like small changes like Berenstein and Berenstein or stuff like that. It's just small changes, but that one big event that got changed a lot of things down the line, which is exactly like the episode we just talked about. Now you see why it reminds me of the Mandela effect. In this, like, they're still Sam and Dean, but it's just different, and they're not even that different. They're not as different as like the doppelgangers in season 15. Like, they're just different. And so like things around them are just kind of different. Like they have a different car, they don't know what an Impala is, like. And so it's just like these slight little differences that happened because of a change of timeline. This next one, you guys are going to think I'm even crazier for saying, but hear me out. Time travel. Yes, I said time travel. Yes, I said time travel. I did. And I wasn't gonna, this is not, this is not a huge popular theory. Like this, I don't think a lot of people say this, but as I was writing this outline, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, that's essentially what Balthazar did. Like, he went back in time and he time traveled and he changed the events. Now, there's a show called Timeless, and it's a great show if you've never seen it. And basically, what it's about these government officials that are literally saving time. They're literally saving because in this show they have two time machines, just two. The government has one, and then this rogue like committee or group has one. And so they're trying to make sure that this rogue committee doesn't change things so that way things don't butterfly effect. And it's like literally like a government agency in this show. And it's crazy because they have to make sure that nobody changes everything, so things like Balthazar, like what Balthazar did, doesn't happen. And I know that there was someone a long time ago that actually said he made a time machine or something. I found it online. It was called the Philadelphia experiment, I think. And I mean, of course, I don't know if that's true, but I do think that time travel could be possible, because if we're on different, like if there are different timelines, then essentially it's all happening at the same time. I think it would totally make sense if a time traveler or someone who is a time traveler went back in time and then made it so Nelson Mandela didn't die and then he became president. All right. Well, those are all of my conspiracy theories. Thank you so much for listening to my craziness. I love talking about this theory. I love talking about alternate universes and all this kind of stuff. It just really, really, really fascinates me. All right. Thank you so much to all of my fellow Wayward Spirits for joining me on this journey today. And if you want to go on more hunts with me, make sure to subscribe to Wayward Spirit Pod wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on so you don't miss the next episode or our Walker reviews. And next week, I hope you will join me while we are on the hunt for Amazons. Yes, this episode is so wild and I can't wait to get into it. But if you are already wanting more Wayward Spirit Pod, I have some extra content on Patreon. There are some bloopers, behind the scenes, and all of the visual episodes for season 1 through 2. So go check us out on Patreon if you want to see those at Wayward Spirit. And I would love to put together some listener stories and responses to these episodes. So I would love to hear what you think about the Mandela effect and what you remember differently, or if you don't remember things differently. I would just love to hear your opinion on all of this. It really, really, really would delight me. So you can send me an audio file, a video file, a text file, whatever you are comfortable with, to waywardspiritpod@gmail.com so I can get those on the podcast. And if you want even more Wayward Spirit Pod, check us out on Instagram at Wayward Spirit Pod, on Patreon at Wayward Spirit, and on YouTube at Wayward Spirit TV. And don't forget to check out our merch, which is at waywardspiritpod.com/shop. It is in the link tree in our link in the bio for Wayward Spirit Pod on Instagram. So check that out. We have some great, great merch up now if you want to go see it. Basically, Winchester, mentally dating in Winchester, some really cool stickers. So please go check that out. I think you guys will love it, and tell me what you think. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me for season 3. It is going to be such a fun season. I can't wait for you to hear all of it. And I will see all of you Wayward Spirits next week. And don't forget to stay spooky. Bye.